I'd now like to introduce our keynote speaker this evening, Jim Swartz. But before I do the formal introduction, I just want to say personally how much Jim has meant to me. Jim and I met probably 4 or 5 years ago when I first became the dean of the school. He's one of the first people I wanted to meet. And in those 4 or 5 years since we first met, Jim has been a great advisor to me, a strong supporter and advocate of me. And for that, I am extremely grateful. And I'm also grateful for the friendship that he and I have developed over the years. And as you'll hear in a moment, he's also been a strong supporter, not just of me, but of the entire school and university. So on a personal note, I want to thank Jim for everything he's done for the school, for the university, and for me personally. Jim is a partner and co-founder of Excel Partners, a prominent global venture capital firm. Jim has been active in venture capital for over 4 decades. He has served as director for over 50 successful companies and has been closely involved as lead investor for numerous pioneering technology companies. Before founding Excel in 1982, Jim was founding partner of Adler & Company, which he started with Fred Adler in 1978 after his tenure as a vice president of Citicorp Venture Capital. Early in his career, Jim worked as a management consultant, entering the venture capital industry in 1972. As a longtime industry leader, Jim is former chairman of the National Venture Capital Association and 2007 recipient of its Lifetime Achievement Award. Jim is a local. Jim grew up in Coraopolis, Pennsylvania. He earned his undergraduate degree in engineering sciences and applied physics from Harvard University, where he also played varsity football. And he is a 1966 MSIA graduate of Carnegie Mellon University. 1966, that makes Jim this year 50th reunion. Congratulations, Jim. Jim is an active and involved alumnus serving on the Tepper School's Business Board of Advisors and is the chair of the newly formed President's Global Advisory Council at Carnegie Mellon University. In addition to his commitment of time and energy, Jim has also provided very generous financial support to the Tepper School and CMU. He's a longtime sponsor of the Swartz Entrepreneurial Fellowship Program and the James R. Swartz Leadership Scholarship, both of which provide critical financial support in attracting the best and brightest students to the Tepper School. In June of 2015, Jim announced a $31 million gift to support infrastructure and programmatic activities in entrepreneurship at Carnegie Mellon. In recognition of his gift, the university will establish the Swartz Center for Entrepreneurship at Carnegie Mellon University. Thank you so much for that gift, Jim. But Jim's philanthropy and community interests extend far beyond the Tepper School and CMU. He also serves as chairman of the Swartz Foundation and the Christian Center of Park City. He is director emeritus of the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Foundation and trustee of the Sundance Institute and the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. Jim also served on the management committee for the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City. He's also an accomplished and avid sailor and has won numerous national and international sailing competitions. In 2013, Jim received the Tepper School's Alumni Achievement Award, and at Carnegie Mellon's main graduation ceremony this Sunday, he will receive an honorary doctorate in business practice. Please join me in congratulating and welcoming Jim Swartz. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dean Damon, for that overly kind introduction. I don't know if I can live up to all that. Welcome, everyone, to the graduating Tepper Class of 2016. You and I have a lot in common. We all labored hard at our coursework, were frustrated by, obviously, inaccurate grading. We're motivated by inspirational professors and worried incessantly about our future. We both made career and job choices based on imperfect information and luck. We share the same insecurities. The only difference is that 50 years separates us. And I can now look back with confidence and say to you, relax, enjoy your accomplishment. You have just received one of the best educations in the world. It is going to stand the test of time. Mine did, and so will yours. Now that you're relaxed, now what? I can't predict the future, yours or the business environment, but I can share with you what has worked for me and what might for you. It is very hard for me to see myself standing here today. I grew up in a mill town along the Ohio River, along 15 miles from here. Midway between McKees Rocks, the home of John Kasich, and Beaver Falls, the home of Joe Namath. Some combination of self-will, caring mentors, pure luck moved me from that environment exactly 50 years ago and placed me here. May 1966. And I was about to enter the business world. Each of you is more accomplished, more sophisticated, and more ready than I was at this graduation. I had gone straight to business school from college, as was the custom then, and I was already working and preparing to be married the following month in June. And yes, before I forget the real reason for whatever success I've achieved, let me thank my wife, Susan. It will be 50 years together in June. Getting the right people around you starts at home. How lucky I've been to build my career and family with my fabulous wife and true partner. As I look at my early career, it's a miracle that I survived, let alone succeeded. The Vietnam War draft nearly grabbed me in the spring of 1966. It took 4 jobs, 2 mergers, and 1 layoff before I found what I really loved. And to be clear, it was sheer luck that I discovered my passion, becoming friends with a neighbor who was an early venture capitalist. It was the first I had ever heard the process of company building. Oh, sure, I enjoyed my work prior to venture capital, and by all external measures, I was succeeding. But it took 7 years for me to find what I was truly passionate about. Steve Jobs has popularized the concept of passion. In my era, it was buried in a book called What Color Is Your Parachute? It took me 7 years, but I finally discovered that the combination of intellectual rigor, entrepreneurship, and knowing that I was helping someone was what I wanted to do. My chosen profession has always been about helping a company or a person to succeed. It's about adding judgment, perspective, and a selfless desire to see the project succeed. Venture capital is best practiced as a calling, not a job. It was never about maximizing wealth. Independence, yes. Self-actualization, yes. Finding business success, yes. But never about maximizing net worth. Passion does not equate to financial success. It is about being comfortable in your own skin, about being true to yourself, and maintaining your inner balance. Learn to trust your gut, your instinct. It will rarely let you down. Don't be afraid to experiment until you discover your passion and what truly motivates you. It takes time. You will feel lonely and you will feel frustrated. Importantly, you will need to take risks when the time comes. Finding your passion is important, but how you perform is even more important. Every profession, every art, Every performer has a how dimension. In art, there's a light touch and a heavy touch, lightness versus darkness. In music, we talk about delicate versus ponderous. In today's politics, we are witnessing the contrast between self-aggrandizement and humility. In business, ethics defines the how. You have all studied ethics, and I'm sure you feel well prepared. Maybe you are. I was clearly naive. In the real world, it is never clear. Perhaps it is clear in retrospect, but in real time, it is very hard to discern right from wrong. My most memorable lesson in ethics was in Tom Kerr's civilization class, Civilizing Us Engineers. Tom was very clear about price fixing in particular. We were advised if we were ever in a meeting when the subject of price fixing was raised, we should pick the proper moment, politely excuse ourselves, and leave the room. But most importantly, to knock over a water glass on the way out. This graphic example of clear and memorable behavior has stood me well over time. Whenever you see anything that smacks of unethical behavior, be very clear about your position. Either change the situation or get out. Shortly after I started working on my first investment project, I developed a clear feeling that the entrepreneur was dishonest. There were a number of incidents, none conclusive, but nevertheless bothersome. I was the junior analyst in the first few months of my employment working for the chairman, and when I raised my concerns, he was totally dismissive. But I remained troubled, and I shared my concerns with a friend. It turned out that my friend, randomly, knew someone who had knowledge of the entrepreneur in a prior work situation. The entrepreneur had been accused of fraud and was dismissed. Of course, that employment was not on his resume. Remember, this was pre-internet, and nothing short of this random personal encounter would have led to the facts. Fast forward, we dropped the project. The team went elsewhere for the funding, and 2 years later, it all blew up in lawsuits amidst allegations of fraud. Had I not followed my instincts and stuck to my standards, my investment career would have been a short one. This is a very straightforward example from a very different time. There were many others along the way, and I'm afraid it is getting harder, not easier. You are entering a postmodernist world where truth and facts do not apply. You are going to encounter many ethical dilemmas in your career, many more than you can contemplate today. How you choose to handle them will define you and your career. Nothing is more important than your name and reputation. Guard it zealously. And please remember this: it is legal, does not mean it is right. Finally, I'd like to talk about opportunities. You will be presented with many opportunities during your career. Will you recognize them? Will you be able to sift them properly? To me, this is the essence of building a career. You are entering business at a time of unprecedented opportunity. Entrepreneurship is everywhere and is permeating our world culture at a blistering pace. Increasingly, the future will be defined by entrepreneurs and by individuals that recognize and seize opportunities. How, you ask? By remaining intellectually curious, by making up your own mind, sticking to primary facts and sources. Don't be afraid to be judgmental. Be controversial. In the words of the famous Apple TV ad, here's to the crazy ones. Surround yourself with friends and partners who are not afraid to point out weaknesses in your thinking. Friends who are supportive and understanding. Always work in an environment that blesses meritocracy and is not political. Sure, you can be successful by following the crowd and by dipping in and out of momentum. But to be truly successful, you must be prepared to go against the flow, to tune out the noise, and to make your own judgments about the correct path. You need a backbone, not a wishbone. I have watched executives make one poor choice after another, and I have watched other executives go from success to success, simply by choosing the right environment. No one is infallible, but you can get it right most of the time. And when you don't, adjust quickly. Every big outcome investment that we ever made was in the face of contrary information. While making the early 1970s investment in Federal Express, very few could envision how it would be used. And famously, it did go bankrupt twice before succeeding on the third try. When we made our first network investment in 1978, there was no such thing as a local area network, and virtually no one could believe you would want one. When we made our first wireless investment in wireless networks in 1988, there was no conception of how they would be used. Our first internet investment in 1993 was made before any commercial use. And when we made our Facebook investment in 2005, there had already been a number of notable failures in the social networking space. In the lead up to the financial crisis of 2008, all eyes were on the real estate industry expanding forever. And yet the real money was made by investing against that, a story that is well told in the Michael Lewis book, The Big Short. Without a healthy skepticism, you will never see the opportunities when they present themselves. You must train yourself to question, to take nothing for granted, and to act opposite to the crowd much of the time. While developing your opinions, you must learn to remain open and listen to what the market is telling you. There's a famous stock market saying, "You can't fight the tape." Make your judgments, but learn how to change your views when it is clear you were wrong. 3 lessons have served me well for these 50 years. Be true to your passion, be principled, be contrarian and open. With a little luck, these lessons will work for you as well as they have for me. In concluding, all I've said thus far is meaningless if you do not have a healthy and vibrant life with friends and family. At the end of the day, material success is nice, but without your daily dose of friends and family, it is meaningless. If and when you end up gracing some Forbes or Fortune list, it will be a very fleeting achievement. Building a lifelong set of friends, having a full and robust family life, and giving back, these are the things that matter. Thank you to this wonderful university that taught me how to learn and how to think for myself. May your next 50 years be as blessed as the years were to me. My 9 grandchildren are counting on you. Thank you.